Parents are society's protectors.
Kate!
Children depend on it for their lives. But some women break the parents' code.
Kate, Joe! I can't do it, I'm afraid!
Like Deborah Green, one night in Kansas City.
You jump now!
The victims were children who were innocent and depended on her to take care of them. She betrayed them.
To the world in the early 1990s, this is a successful family. Dr. Mike Farah is a promising cardiologist. Kids Kelly, Tim, and Kate are happy and confident. Their mom's a doctor too. Oncologist Deborah Green. But beneath the surface lies danger.
I think most people would look at her and see Deborah Green as a successful oncologist, but she was perhaps tortured with issues involving alcohol abuse, mental illness issues, and emotional maturity issues.
Deborah has been a straight-A achiever all her life. But medicine demands more than just smarts.
No, this is not right.
Deborah Green's biggest problem was Deborah Green.
Deborah suffers severe mood swings, lashing out at colleagues and patients.
Do it all over again.
And when the lows hit, she turns to alcohol and narcotics to stop the pain.
She wasn't cut out for dealing with patients. I mean, she was, very smart and technically maybe a good doctor, but her bedside manner was lacking.
Journalist Tony Rizzo investigated Deborah's fall. From valued doctor to ostracized clinician.
She quit actively practicing medicine. She did some work like that involved, reviewing records and things like that, but she wasn't really involved with dealing with patients.
The moods and the tantrums shut Deborah off from colleagues and family.
She rose to a pinnacle very early in life, but her personality didn't keep up with it. Her self-discipline didn't keep up with it. Her self-control was never there, and it started to fall apart.
What are you doing on this place? It's a pigsty.
Oh, God.
Husband Mike finds her drunk once too often. He threatens to leave and starts an affair. Everything Deborah has is slipping through her fingers. Her career, her prestige, her husband. So she starts planning retribution with a deadly poison.
She used ricin, which she obtained from seeds of the castor plant, which is an ornamental plant. And it was apparently crushed up and put into the food that she served him.
Want some?
Yeah, thanks. What's on soup?
Chicken.
Ricin is probably one of the top 1, 2, or 3 most toxic substances that are naturally derived on Earth. There's so much pain and suffering associated with ricin poisoning. This is a death that punishes.
Within hours, Mike Farah's body will react violently.
The toxin attacks all the cells that line the gastrointestinal tract, the esophagus, the stomach, the small and large bowel, if it makes it that far. The person becomes rapidly dehydrated, they have terrible abdominal pain, and then rather rapidly their blood pressure will drop, their heart rate will increase, and unless they get supportive medical care, they're going to die.
But Mike is not the only person on Deborah's hit list.
I can't imagine how frightening, terrifying, few moments that was for the children.
Dr. Deborah Green is having a breakdown. She has a history of depression. Her husband, Mike, can't control her.
Mike had taken Deborah to the hospital in an attempt to have her mentally committed.
Mike has found poisonous castor beans in their home and thinks she's trying to kill herself.
The doctor examined her and determined that it was a family dispute and was not something that would be a mental commitment situation.
Mike doesn't realize the deadly poison was meant for him. It's the reason he's been so sick lately. The dose wasn't enough to kill him. But his wife hasn't finished yet.
When Michael tried to commit Deborah Green at the hospital, she made a statement to him that, "You will get the children over our dead bodies."
Exasperated by his wife's behavior, Mike moves out of the family home. But the arguments continue.
At about 11:30 p.m., Deborah and her husband had a heated argument over Deborah's drinking and issues with caring for the children.
Mike threatens to take the children, and Deborah snaps.
Deborah's need to punish Mike superseded any love she might have ever felt, if she ever did, for her own 3 children. The best way to hurt Mike was to kill the kids.
The events of that night were sort of a perfect storm of 3 different factors. She obviously had some mental health issues that had not been addressed. When you put on top of that the heavy consumption of alcohol, and then the angry relationship, I think that in that moment, she did a monstrous thing.
She set the house on fire.
Upstairs, Tim, Kate, and Kelly are soon woken by flames.
Her son, Tim, got on the intercom and asked what he should do during this fire. And Deborah Green told her son to remain in his room and wait for the professionals to arrive.
I can't imagine how frightening, terrifying, few moments that was for the children.
Kate heads straight for the window.
Kate!
And makes her way onto the roof. She has a simple choice: jump or perish.
Kate, jump! I can't do it, I'm afraid! You jump now!
Deborah Green stepped aside and the daughter landed on the ground.
Ow!
It's very hard to understand why someone would kill their children, but you have to remember that the women that would think that murder's the only answer aren't thinking right to begin with.
Right, it's a two-story building. It's almost completely in flames now. We need you guys
Police
here now.
arrive, along with Mike.
What's going on? What's going on? Who are you, sir?
But it's too late.
I've got to get the children. Please. I've got to get my kids.
I could not begin to imagine how her husband would feel after having lost two of his children to what she did.
A lot of people were affected by this case. It's just so shocking to have a situation where you have a mother that's capable of doing something like this to her own children.
The fire investigators found about 4 different points of origin of the fire. They determined that an accelerant was used and that the fire was intentionally set, that it was arson.
Deborah is the prime suspect. She's charged with murdering her children. Attempted murder of her husband. And aggravated arson. Found guilty on all counts. She's sentenced to 40 years.
If Deborah ever did love her children, by the time she killed them, all of those feelings had long since died. The only thing that mattered in Deborah's life was making Mike pay for leaving her.
She did a monstrous thing, but I don't think that necessarily means that she was a monster. But in this case, it was hard to not feel some anger towards her. And the victims were children who were innocent and depended on her to take care of them. And she betrayed them.
In Steamboat Springs, Colorado, Halloween is still weeks away. But an odd couple are stalking the streets in disguise.
She was seen a couple of times by different people wearing this same disguise.
While it seems like a joke, the intent is deadly. Jill Kite is staking out a kill.
It wasn't an easy death, and it was a very messy crime scene. It had to be horrific for him.
In the tight-knit ski town of Steamboat Springs, Jerry Boggs runs the local hardware store.
Jerry Boggs was a well-established gentleman in the community. Family had been here for a long time, and he had a certain amount of wealth.
Single mother Jill Kite is new to town.
Jill was the kind of person that fit in very well. She was very outgoing, a very friendly persona.
Jill and her sons are renovating a local bed and breakfast. She soon becomes a regular at Jerry's store.
I think when Jill came along, she showed an attraction to him, and that was exciting to him. And he fell head over heels in love with this woman.
Writer Stephen Singular has investigated Jill's past.
When she was young, she was quite attractive. A beautiful, peachy type of complexion, dark hair. She thought She had a little bit of Native American blood in her, and so that was a bit exotic.
The ex-model knows exactly how to grab a man's attention.
She would come on very strong with men. She dressed flamboyantly, she dressed provocatively, she talked a lot, so she made quite a stir whenever she showed up in the room.
Jerry Boggs is overwhelmed by Jill's Southern charm. Within months, the 50-year-old bachelor marries for the first time. But it's a shotgun wedding. Jill has told Jerry she's pregnant.
Honey, look at all the great things I got from the store.
Honey, what are you?
He can't believe his good luck.
He went out and bought all these books about, having children. He built this nursery. He was enormously looking forward to being a father. So this was a huge event for him.
But Jill Kite's pregnancy is a lie.
Her stomach didn't get any bigger, and they would go places, and he had friends, and the women would come up and say, "Gee, you sure aren't showing any signs of pregnancy."
Stop it, Maya! You seen a doctor, honey? Nothing wrong with me. Hey, no.
How many times you gotta go? I know.
Jerry's brother Doug is getting worried. Jill is growing very interested in the finances of the family business.
Just a minute. That's my father's story. Exactly.
Doug was disturbed enough by this, I believe, to ask a private detective to start to look into her background.
Look at this. These are divorce papers.
Doug hands Jerry an explosive file on Jill's past.
Jerry had found out that Jill was a massive, massive fraud.
Jill Kite has been married 11 times.
Here was a woman with about 10, 12, 14 aliases. Here was a woman with about the same number of marriages.
Where did you get this stuff? It's all.
Here was a woman who had probably been involved in a number of insurance scams and financial scams.
This one thinks she's untouchable.
She had really gotten away with a lot of criminal behavior.
This woman is dangerous.
Jill saw marriage as a means to an end, a way to get money from men.
And this fortune-hunting bigamist is still married to husband number 7. Shocked to his core, Jerry annuls their marriage. Jill doesn't take it well.
Jerry interfered with her financial plans, which I think is her motive for everything she does, is greed and money. And because Jerry was interfering with those plans, she had to eliminate him.
Okay, what?
It wasn't an easy death. It had to be horrific for him.
Jill Kite is an ex-model. A woman of many faces and many dangers, if you're a man.
Jill saw men as a target of opportunity. And I think she looked for men that had trouble with relationships or even having a relationship.
She was so brazen in her use of her sexuality to attract the attention of men and to manipulate them.
Jill Kite is a skilled fortune hunter.
It would take a very strong man and a man experienced in life, experience with women, to be able to spot what Jill was really all about. Most men couldn't.
Where did you get this stuff?
But her latest husband, Jerry Boggs, has discovered Jill's lies.
Just look at this. I'm telling you, this woman
Distraught, he cuts her out of his life.
Look through this.
Now Jill wants revenge on Jerry. To get it, she tangles a new man in her deadly web. Michael Backus.
She convinced him that Jerry Boggs was a bad person, and she convinced him that the only way to get rid of this bad person is to kill him.
Jill returns to the house she once shared with Jerry Boggs.
Okay.
There was an altercation, stun gun was used, Jerry went down.
I want you to die! Hey! Hey,
He was struck violently. It split his face open from the top of his head down across his face.
Jerry stopped Jill's plans to get his money. Now she will have the final word.
I want you to die!
Jill shot him in the back with the .22 caliber pistol.
This man didn't go easy. Jerry Boggs died a very painful death. The man didn't have to be tortured the way he was tortured.
Let's go! Let's go!
Murder's a very drastic measure, but Jill was a very grandiose person. Jill did what Jill wanted to do and thought she could pull anything off.
As local detectives investigate this shocking murder, they discover more of Jill's secrets.
She had been married to men almost all over the United States, and they kept dying.
What are you doing here?
Well, you want
Back in Houston, William Kite was husband number 3.
Well, come on in and make it quick. Seems a little ridiculous to me. I don't understand why you would even consider coming.
William Kite was shot very similarly in the manner of Jerry Boggs. He was shot 3 times in the back with a small caliber handgun and found at the back door of his house.
While Jill is the prime suspect, William Kite's murder is never solved. The death of Jerry Boggs won't fade so quietly.
Let's go! Let's go!
After the murder, Jill makes a fateful phone call.
Jill Kite called her son Seth at the bed and breakfast, and she made a statement.
My baby, it's over, and it's messy.
This time, his mother has gone too far.
When he learned that Jerry Boggs was dead, was absolutely terrified. The last thing he wanted to do was to be involved in this.
Her son's testimony helps close the case against Jill Kite. Found guilty of first-degree murder. She's currently serving life without parole.
I don't believe Jill Kite to this day will even admit that she did this murder. She's a woman without a conscience, and I don't think she's lost a night's sleep over it.
Whatever was in her that keeps the rest of us civilized was not there.
She is a cold-blooded killer. And if we didn't catch her, rest assured she would have killed again. I'd say she's a bad girl.